Hey everybody, it's GombletX and welcome back to some more Magic Arena. Today I'll be playing another sealed event of New Capenna, some more practice for the upcoming sealed and draft events. There's an arena open on the 14th and 15th and a qualifier weekend on the 28th and 29th. So that's what we're prepping for. Without further ado, let's do our best in this sealed event of New Capenna. So our rares are a bit all over the place here, but we've got some certainly powerful ones, so it's all kind of going to depend on what is good in our individual colors. So I'm probably just going to hop right into that. Not too much explanation on these rares. They're all pretty good, actually, every single one of these in their own way, in their own decks. So let's just see what decks and colors are most represented in the sealed pool. So I like to start at the back here in Streets of New Capenna and see where my mana fixing is looking good, see what kind of good colorless cards we have. We do have a couple ominous parcels. These aren't great in draft, they're a little slow, but in sealed I think they're pretty nice, letting you tutor up whatever basic land you need, and also potentially just being a removal spell later if you don't need to pull out a land with them. So I like having a couple parcels. Quick Draw Dagger is a lot better in draft than sealed, because this is really good in the aggressive decks that have a lot of creatures on the ground to play combat tricks with. But other than that, every other colorless card is pretty filler, pretty mediocre. Once we look at our lands here, we have an Obscura one, a white-blue-black fetch land, a blue-black-red fetch land, and a white-blue-green fetch land, so nice to keep that in mind. Broker's cards, we have Adjudicators, the mana-fixing creature. In Riveteers, we have only Ognis, the Dragon's Lash, which makes tapped treasures every time you attack. Kind of interesting. Maestros, we've got some gas in Maestros. We have Glamorous Outlaw being one of the fixer creatures, probably the best fixer creature. Scry 2, once you have 6 mana, is a pretty big game, as we've seen in the formats like Kamigawa in the past. The 6 mana create 3/2 Samurai Scry 3 was great because Scry 3 was just such a big addition to getting a bunch of power toughness on the board. This is not as good as that, but still 4 power, 5 toughness on the board, and Scry 2 gets somewhat close. It does some work. Maestro's Diabolist is really nice. It's a really fun rare because it's one that isn't like inherently the most busted thing in the universe. It's like a pretty good rate, a 1/4 and a 1/1 devil, but it's a card that just gets better and better the more Maestro's sacrifice synergies you have, because the way this works is you get to keep replacing that devil token every time you attack with the Diabolist. So if the devil never dies, you're just attacking with a 1/4 and 1/1 over and over and over again. But if the devil dies, say you sacrifice it, you throw that 1 damage wherever you want, and you just immediately get a replacement devil the next turn. So that'll be a really fun one to play with if we go Maestros. And we have 2 Corpse Appraiser, which is another card that's a great deal in Maestros. A 3 mana 3/3, exiles a creature from a grave to look at the top 3 cards of your library, put 1 into your hand and the rest into the graveyard. A really nice, crisp, clean 2-for-1, your bread and butter cards to getting a bit of card advantage over on your opponent. So that's really nice. Then Obscura, we only have Obscura Interceptor, so it's a great tempo play, though. A 4 mana for a 3/1 lifelink. You get to draw a card and discard a card when you play it, and you just bounce your opponent's spell back into their hand. So this is a really good response to your opponent tapping out on turn 5 for just a 5 mana card. You're like, all right, put that back in your hand, and I played a big lifelinker, so you basically just like time walk your opponent. It's a really good card. The problem is it only works well if you get it at the right time, but it's still so busted at that time that it's great. Look at our 2 colored cards here. We have Civil Servant if we have a lot of citizens. That card is great. Stimulus Package is okay if you have like a ton of treasures. Jetmir's Fixer is all right. Nothing super spicy there. Forge Boss and Fatal Grudge for a sacrifice deck in black-red. We definitely play Fatal Grudge with the Maestro's Diabolist if we go blue-black-red. And we've got good mana fixing for black-red, 2 Tramway Stations. When we look at blue-black, we have Snooping Newsy, and that is it. And then blue-white, we have a couple Celestial Regulators. Celestial Regulators are pretty bomb. They're pretty great flyers. 3 mana for a 2/3 flyer that taps a creature when it comes into play is already a good deal. If you have a counter on the board and you get to tap something down and keep it locked down for a turn, then you're getting a super good deal. So when we're looking at our multicolored cards, in terms of what we have mana fixing for and what colors are most represented in our powerful cards, it's really looking like Maestros here. Maestros, we get 2 Corpse Appraiser, Maestro's Diabolist, Glamorous Outlaw for the mana fixing creature, Maestro's Theater, and 2 Tramway Stations, as well as we can play Fatal Grudge or Forge Boss if we want. So we've got a lot going on in Maestros, at least a lot in comparison to any other color pair. So hopefully our black, red, and blue are strong enough to support that color trio. If not, though, we do have an opportunity to look elsewhere. But I don't think that this sealed pool has good enough mana fixing to be trying to do 4 or 5 color stuff. There are 100% sealed pools where you can do that. In draft, that happens way less often because draft is such an aggressive format. But in sealed, sometimes you open up like a ton of the fetches and a good amount of dual lands and a good amount of treasure tokens to where you can just be like, all right, I'm just going to play all my best cards in 4 or 5 colors. I don't think this is a sealed pool that can do that. We only have 3 fetches and only a couple duels, so not excellent mana fixing there for just playing a ton of colors. So let's see what our individual cards are in red, blue, and black primarily, but we'll take a look at everything. White certainly gives us Rabble Rousing, one of the strongest rares in the set, giving you a 1/1 citizen every time you attack with a creature. So if you attack with 5 creatures, you get 5 1/1 citizens as well. So Rabble Rousing is bonkers. It's an insane card and it's really powerful, but I don't think that it makes up for how narrow our white is. Not because our white cards are bad, but because there's so few. There are good ones here. I love Mage's Attendant, 3 mana for 3/2 and a 1/1. That 1/1 can sack itself to counter a spell. Killshot is solid removal and sealed, and Rafine's Informant is always a good deal on 2. Draw a card, discard a card with it. Hold for Ransom is fine removal. I think it's better in draft where you can be more aggressive. In sealed, it definitely hurts a little bit that your opponent can get out of it for 7 mana, but you do draw a card when they do. And that's it for like the great white cards. Speakeasy Server and Celebrity Fencer can be solid in the right deck. Celebrity Fencer, you really need token production for this card to be good because a 4 mana 3/2 is a terrible rate. It will trade down into a 2/2, so if you play this and immediately need to block, you're in a world of pain. It doesn't even really pay for itself until you've played 2 more creatures, because once you have it as a 4 mana 4/3, still not the greatest deal. You'd never play a straight up 4 mana 4/3 because that still trades down into like 3 mana 3/3s like Jewel Thief. So don't love Celebrity Fencer because it requires a decent amount of build around and you have to draw it at the right time. It's a pretty terrible top deck. You've got to get at least 2 creatures down after it for it to be worth it, in my opinion. Speakeasy Server, somewhat similar. I think I like it a little better than Celebrity Fencer, but it's also just a pretty slow card. You can gain a decent bit of life off it, gain 2 or 3 life, and just get a 3/3 flyer down. That can be big and sealed, so we might start with the Speakeasy Server main deck, but I think this would be it. We might play Celebrity Fencer for like really hurting on 4 drops. I'm just never too happy to play it. But Rabble Rousing with Celebrity Fencer would be hilarious. So white actually looks okay, but there's just not a lot of white cards. It's pretty narrow. When we look at our blue, it also looks pretty narrow at what it's good at, but wow, are they some powerful cards. We've got Expendable Lackey here, which is great to sacrifice to stuff. I like Expendable Lackey. I despise Witness Protection. I'm way lower on this card than pretty much everybody else. Even solid drafters will still run like 1 of this sometimes, but I hate this card. It's a removal spell that's only good against your opponent's like really big threats. So if you're really hurting for removal, then it's a good deal. But this card is horrible against the sacrifice decks. It's really bad against green-white citizens as well. And black-red sacrifice and green-white citizens are 2 of the strongest strategies in draft. So I think it's really bad in draft. But it's a removal spell that like it's not good to use this as a removal spell unless you're killing something that's like bigger than like a 3/3 on the ground or something, because 1 mana to just make their 3/3 a 1/1 is not a great deal. So you really have to be killing like a big flyer or just a really big creature for this to be super worth it, in my opinion. Not a big fan of this card, mainly because of how aggressive the format can be in draft. In sealed, you definitely have a lot more leeway with this card because the format is a lot slower. But in draft, when you're playing against an aggressive deck that's just jamming out 2/2s, even if they don't care about citizens, even if they don't care about sacrificing things, if they're just jamming out creatures and hitting you aggressively and all you do with your removal spell is make their creature a 1/1, like the 1/1's still going to hit you. It's still going to get some work in for our opponent. So thought I would do my little spiel on Witness Protection because pretty much every other draft in sealed I've just not even mentioned it. So I thought it's probably important to get my thoughts on the card out there. For those interested, because I just haven't even mentioned its existence before, really. So Fairy Vandal is a card I love. This card is really good in this format. Backstreet Bruiser is okay if you have a lot of flyers, so I'll probably just throw it in there because we have cards like Fairy Vandal. Fairy Vandal is really good in this format. Blitz and Connive both allow you to draw a card when you use that ability, whether it's draw a card, discard a card, or draw a card in your end step, which means if you play a single Blitz card or Connive card during your turn, this will get a +1/+1 counter because you'll have drawn a second card. So the fact that there are a ton of cards that trigger this because of Blitz and Connive and Out of the Way and Majestic Metamorphosis, there's just a lot of cantrips in this format. They make Fairy Vandal straight gas. This thing is attacking for a lot in this guy pretty quickly. Really like that card. Make Disappear is a counterspell that's played pretty well, because people are trying to curve out and play their best cards as quickly as possible, and this is just going to counter their best card pretty easily. Turns out Mana Link, even if it costs one less to pay for, is still pretty good. The flexibility, too, of if your opponent tries to play a 6-drop on like turn 9 and they have 9 lands out, the fact that you could still like sacrifice an Expendable Lackey or a Fish token and still counter it unless they pay 4 is pretty nice, too. Security Bypass is actually interesting. I haven't played with this card yet, but it is pretty good in the right position. If the game's a board stall, this card is nuts, and Sealed can definitely end up in some board stalls. This card's really good with Fairy Vandal, because it's going to make sure you're drawing an extra card each turn. So Security Bypass is interesting. I'd probably try out a copy here if we go blue. Majestic Metamorphosis is a fantastic trick. It's a combat trick and you draw a card. Obscura Initiate's been really nice. Flyers have played well in Sealed, and the lifelink is huge, making it harder to race. We would play Psionic Snoop if we're in blue because we want a lot of Connive to go with Fairy Vandal, but it's not anything to run home about. It's just okay. Run Out of Towns are pretty good. I don't know if I'd want all 3, but it is a pretty good tempo play. Put their best card back on top of their library, or they can put it on the bottom of their library. So sure, it doesn't deal with the card forever, so it's not like a removal spell, but it's still a big tempo swing to make your opponent put some card they just spent their whole turn playing, be it turn 3, they play a 3/3, and then you play Run Out of Town. All of a sudden, their whole turn, you've just nullified it. You've nullified your own turn as well, because you've spent all 4 of your mana if you're doing it that early in the game. But it's still nice. And if they have to redraw it, you're basically making them skip a draw step as well. So it's like better than putting it in their hand. That being said, Out of the Way puts it in their hand and draws a card and is cheaper against green cards, so Out of the Way is better than Run Out of Town. So it's kind of a lot of 4-mana instant interaction stuff, so I might cut like 1 Run Out of Town here if we go blue, but I'd do something like this. Blue actually looks pretty sweet here. We even have the filler Big Old Sewer Crocodile if we don't have a lot of late game plays. Not a terrible card, not a fantastic card. Nice if you need a 6-drop. Not much to say about the Crocodile there, but blue looks actually pretty sweet. Love all the instants in blue. Taking a look at black now, we can get aggressive. We have 2 2-mana 3/2s that come in tapped, and a 2-mana 3/2 that comes in untapped. And this one we can blitz from our graveyard. Having 3 2-mana 3/2s actually makes our sealed deck potentially look as aggressive as a powerful draft strategy, which can be a way to close out some sealed games for sure, because some people are going to try to play some slower decks. We even have Murder in black and a fantastic removal spell here. Maestro's Initiate's okay. 1 toughness is a really big downside in this format. That's another thing I didn't mention sometimes before, but 1 toughness is a huge downside. If you have 1 toughness, you're going to trade into a citizen token, you're going to trade into a fish token, you're going to die to an expendable lackey, you're going to die to a corrupt court official, that's the 2-mana 1/1 that makes somebody discard a card, so 1 toughness is a really hard sell. I think the fact that this does things in your grave is pretty good, but that 1 toughness is such a hard sell, I still try to avoid playing it. That being said, we don't have a lot of creatures. We probably have to end up playing them in here. Go for a couple of Revel Runers, a Deal Gone Bad, and we'll 100% play Girder Goons, my favorite black common in the set. I like it even more than Murder. You can sort of treat this as a 4-mana sorcery that deals 4 damage to your opponent, makes a tap 2/2, and draws you a card, which is an insane rate if you think of it that way, and that's what it does a lot of the time. And that's not even the best thing it can do. If you get aggressive in the early game to where your opponent's low on life, maybe they're at 8 or something, all of your blitz cards start getting way better because you get them to the point where they're low enough on life that they have to take trades to not get at risk of dying, which means that if you blitz these cards out instead of hard casting it, there's no downside, because if you hard cast a 5-mana 4/4, eventually you're going to attack into it and it's going to trade into a 2/2 and a 2/3 or 4/4 of theirs or something. But if you blitz it out when your opponent's low on life and they have to block to not die, all of a sudden you're going to do what you were going to do anyway. You're going to trade your 4/4 into their creatures, but you're also going to draw a card in the process because you cast it for its blitz cost. So blitz plays really well the later in the game you get. So I really, really like Girder Goons. And I just wanted to do a little spiel on Blitz there. I guess we could play like a Midnight Assassin in black if we needed. So black's pretty exciting here. Love having Murder and Deal Gone Bad for solid removal. Girder Goons is a great Blitz card. And we have some nice, cheap, aggressive creatures if we want to just pile in on our opponent as quickly as possible. Looking at our red, this is another aggressive color in the format. If we have the aggressive support for it, we could focus in on red-black and just try to cheese people out of the game. We do have Mayhem Patrol, another great Blitz card. This one's much different, though. This one's much more about just getting that early damage in. Or if you're blitzing this out, it's usually because you're just trying to end the game out of nowhere. Riveteer's Initiate is solid, a 2-mana 2/2 that can trade into bigger stuff later as long as you hold a couple mana up. Colony Professional's nice cheap removal. Love that this gets around shield counters. It kills cards even if they have shield counters on them. That's the flexibility of this one. Exhibition Magician's a great card, 3 mana for a 2 and a 1/1, or a treasure token if you need it. Professional Facebreaker is incredible. Every time one of your creatures deals damage to an opponent, you get to create a treasure token. You only get 1 treasure token per turn, even if you hit your opponent with 10 creatures, but that 1 treasure token is still going to turn itself into a card draw every turn off of the Sacrifice a Treasure ability at the bottom of Professional Facebreaker, so a wonderful card there. And then Torch Breath is great removal, and if we need some card draw, Big Score is okay, and it happens to synergize well with Professional Facebreaker, so we would definitely consider running 1 or 2 of those if we go down the red path. So I do quite like our red and our black, and we have 2 tramway stations to maybe focus on red-black as our main colors. Try to splash in a little bit of blue for a couple Corpse Appraiser, Maestro's Diabolist, and Glamorous Outlaw. That's 100% what I would do if I had done a draft and ended up with all those cards together. I'd be like, all right, red-black as the core, splash in a bit of blue. We'll see how well that'll work for this sealed pool here. But it looks like it's definitely a possibility here, just an aggressive Rakdos deck here, with some good Maestro splashes. So only put the cream of the crop cards in for now. Still need to put 11 more cards if that's all I put in, but we get Fatal Grudge and Forge Bra. So we need 9 more cards. Couple Corpse Appraiser, Maestro's Diabolist, Glamorous Outlaw are 100% going in. Okay, so now we're red-black splashing in a bit of blue. We have Maestro's Theater, Glamorous Outlaw as ways to splash in that blue mana, but we are going to have to play some natural islands here, so we might have to go the full 3 colors, play some more blue cards, unless we put 5 more black and red cards in. If we put 5 more cards in black-red, some treasure tokens really wouldn't be bad for us. We do get to play Obscura Storefront as a blue-black mana fixer. Put that in the deck for sure. How many creatures do we actually have in this deck right now? We have 5 creatures at 2 mana. 5 creatures at 3 mana. Decently aggressive curve. 13 creatures total, though, so we want more creatures, but I actually kind of like Quick Draw Dagger because all of our creatures are on the ground. We've got a decent amount of 2 mana ones. Might play a Quick Draw Dagger in here over like some parcels or something. In the non-creature slot. Kind of interested in a big score here, get those treasure tokens for our blue splash. And then we still need 3 more cards, so I'd have to play some Revel Ruiners. We don't have a lot of 4-drops, so they would be okay. Playing a couple of Revel Ruiners. 1 more card into the deck, could be Incriminate. Not great because your opponent chooses their best creature, but you're killing their second best creature every time with this card. So if your opponent has a really good board state, this card will be solid. How's our removal looking? If we put Incriminate in here, what does it look like? We put Incriminate in, we have Murder, Deal Gone Bad, Colony Professional, Torch Breath, Fatal Grudge, and Incriminate. That's pretty solid removal. We have 15 creatures. We probably just cut Incriminate and just put in another creature. Honestly. Even just a filler 2-drop to stay aggressive, like a Halo Scarab, makes our Quick Draw Dagger better. Makes our Fatal Grudge better. I might just play a Halo Scarab in here. Card is super filler and not great, but I don't think I want to put a bunch more blue cards in here. The more aggressive your deck is, the less splashy you want to be, the less into the 3rd color you want to be, because then you're going to miss your early game colors more often, and you really need to just be able to cast your 2-drops on turn 2 to be aggressive. If you're a slower deck, if you're mid-range or control, then it's super fine to be firmly in 3 colors and sealed. to where you just have like 5 sources of each. Because then it's okay if like on turn 2 you have a blue and a black source, but you're waiting for your red source. Like that's okay because you don't need to play it till later. But if it's turn 2 and we have a crooked custodian and an underdog in hand and we have a red and a blue source, like we are in a world of pain in this kind of deck. So I really don't want to go for a full 3-color deck, even though our blue cards are real strong. I mean, they're solid. Fairy Vandal is like build around powerful, but we have the build arounds to go for it. So the problem is that our blue cards are individually decent, but apes together strong. So if we have Fairy Vandal in here, our blue is like, if we're splashing a little more blue, it's just like okay, like a couple run out of towns. It's like that would be fine. Where our blue gets powerful is if we're running pretty much all of it. Because the way our blue gets powerful is by playing Fairy Vandal with the solid synergies, where we play Fairy Vandal alongside Psionic Snoop and Out of the Way and Majestic Metamorphosis. So if we go into blue, we kind of have to go into blue hard. So I don't think I'm doing that. I think I'm sticking to our black-red thing here. And I guess we can try out one of these Maestro's Initiates or a Halo Scarab, neither of which I'd be a particularly big fan of. We got to put something in here. I guess we could play an Ominous Parcel as well. Wouldn't be horrible. Good Dragoon's Blitz is in on 4. And Torch Breath, also pretty cheap, so we could maybe even just run 16 lands here. But we have 2 fetch lands. We have 2 lands that we get to sacrifice to draw a card. If we are flooding out, it's probably not necessary. I have just been playing a lot of Call Time, though, so I might be skewed by that, because in Call Time I'm always running 18 lands. Alright, I'm just going to put a Halo Scarab in here, get another creature in here to be attacking early in the game. This one's not wonderful, but if we're really stuck on our blue source, it can pull out a treasure token as well after it dies. Got a little bit of extra play in that way. I think this is going to be the deck. Let's make sure our mana's all good, but I think that's probably where I want to be. We have 3 blue cards. We've got 3 blue sources, but I guess both of these fetch out a blue source. We kind of have 5 ways to get a blue source down, plus Outlaw being 6. Kind of cool cutting an island here. We treat Corpse Appraiser and Maestro's Diabolist as late game plays. And then what do we put in here? We have treasure tokens as well, a tiny bit of treasure tokens that help with those cards. What's our most prevalent color? We'll just check that the old-fashioned way. 14 black, 13 red. A little bit more early game black than red, so just have 1 more black source than red source and call it a day. 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 red. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 black. Yeah, that's probably it. I actually miscounted a little bit. I think it's 8 red, 5, 6, 7, 8, because the Obscura storefront doesn't pull out a red, but the Maestro's Theater does. So it's 8 to 10 right now, actually. We make it 9 and 9 if I cut a swamp. All of our red cards only cost a single red mana, though, and we do need double black for murder. So I'm cool with a 10-8 split there. It's a 10-8 split, and then for islands, we have 2 islands and 2 ways to pull them out of the deck. A Glamorous Outlaw and some treasure tokens. Okay, so this is the deck we're going for with this sealed pool. Really aggressive for sealed here because we've got 3 2-mana, 3-power creatures, which is very exciting with those Crooked Custodians and Tenacious Underdog. We're going to leverage all those cheap creatures with a quick draw dagger to maybe get some real big early game plays, but we've also got some powerful kind of bomby plays. Our Professional Facebreaker potentially drawing us a bunch of cards throughout the game. Once we hit our blue source, we have some good 2-for-1s out of Corpse Appraisers, which are nice, and Maestro's Diabolist is just a really scary card, getting in with Devil tokens. A lot of removal in here as well. Torch Breath, Deal Gone Bad, Murder, Calling a Professional, Fatal Grudge. Pretty big fan of the sealed pool. Let's see how it plays for us. Well, this is exactly the scenario I was talking about, that we did not want to hit an aggressive deck and why we are only playing 2 islands in the deck. If we hit red and blue with our 2-mana, 3/2s and black in hand, we're going to have a rough time and probably have to mulligan it. That being said, if we blitz this Mayhem Patrol, we get to cycle it to draw a card, attempt to hit that black source for Corpse Appraiser. We have 10 black sources in the deck. Mayhem Patrol into a Corpse Appraiser for a 2-for-1 is going to be a pretty good start to the game in terms of card advantage. We just don't get off to the aggressive start that we would want with this Custodian, so I'm still going to keep it here, but it is certainly not ideal. Cabaretti Courtyard from our opponent pulls out a forest, and we hit the swamp turn 2, Crooked Custodian time. No longer going to need to cycle that Mayhem Patrol to draw a card. We're just going to be jamming in. And if we can trade our 3-2 into their Civil Servant, I am all for that. So we can Corpse Appraiser for some value. We could go for the Diabolist instead, but I was really hoping for the trade there. Well, I guess we're on Diabolist then. Awkwardly enough, missing out on the haste here, but now the Civil Servant can't attack into that well. They cannot get the cheap turn 2, a turn 3 attack with a 3/3 lifelinker, even if they play a Citizen. They'll need to play a Citizen and a removal spell. And a removal spell it is on the Diabolist. Not ideal. They are on blue, white, and green. Brokers it is. Expendable Lackey is the play here. Hit us for 2. That's Expendable Lackey's a Citizen? Oh dear. Why? The Citizen theme's supposed to be green-white. Well, that's rough. Yeah, Civil Servant's just a bonkers card if you can get it to pop off. I think we have to just deal Gone Bad and get rid of that Civil Servant. Mill our opponent here so we can exile a card from their grave. With our Corpse Appraiser, we could already just exile their Civil Servant, but I don't want to self-mill here. We don't have any graveyard recursion. And if we hit another Lackey, we could exile the Lackey with the Corpse Appraiser, so we're not really worried about what they mill. High Rise Sawjack, another Citizen here, 2/3 reach. I think we offer the trade here, but I'm just going to cast Corpse Appraiser post-combat. Keep jamming on in. We'll have a 3/3 to block their 2/3 if they're trying to crack back with it, so we shut that right off. And I'm going to get rid of the Riveteer's Decoy. Don't think they'll have a way to get either of them back from grave, but Riveteer's Decoy would be worse for us. Do I want Quick Draw Dagger or do I want Revel Ruiner? Both are spicy here. We already have 3 more creatures to play, so I don't really need more creatures. I'm kind of in for the Quick Draw Dagger. Even though it is a lot of mana. Might even be in for the land over anything, because we do need to get to 7 mana to save our Diabolist from the ransom. I'm really unsure here. These are all fine pickups. I'd be super happy to draw any of them. I guess because we have so many creatures to play here, we're probably just spending our all mana into that. We don't really want a Quick Draw Dagger. But again, we have so many creatures to play here that if I'm not playing Dagger, I'm just playing all this stuff anyway. Instead of the Initiate. I'll take the Dagger. We might get a big blowout with it. Mage's Attendant from our opponent, and they're holding the 1 mana up, so they can spend 1 to counter a non-creature spell of ours unless we pay 1. We'll attack with everybody here. They could double block our 3/2 with a couple 1/1s. Block our 3/3 with a 3/2. Nothing super disastrous here. So would I rather keep my 3/3 around or my 3/2 around? I'd rather keep my 3/3 around, so we'll go for a Quick Draw Dagger on the Appraiser. They can sacrifice their 1/1 if they want me to spend another mana here, but I'd happily just spend 1 mana to kill a 1/1. Resolve my Quick Draw Dagger. Okay, looks like they don't want to do that, so we can post-combat just cast our Riveteer's Initiate. And now we get to keep this Dagger behind. The nice thing about the Dagger, it only costs the 1 mana to keep re-equipping it and moving it around. So a lot to initially get it out, but once it's out there, real cheap to move wherever you need it. Well, to lose Clever Conductor is a pretty great card. Connives when it enters the battlefield, and when it dies, they get all of the discarded cards back to their hand. So that's pretty nasty here. Luckily, it's only 2 toughness. So if I just put my Dagger on the Initiate, the only way they can kill the Initiate is by blocking with their 4/2. So I think I just put the Dagger on the Initiate. And then the only way they kill either of these is blocking with the 4/2, so we just send both in. And then we cast our Forge Boss post-combat. Okay, so a trade for the Conductor. They get to put their Freelance Muscle into their hand, which is a really good card if you don't have spot removal for it, because if you don't, it's like it's only a 5/5 on this board state, but I died to 2 of these in our last sealed event that were an 8/8 every single time they went to combat. It was absolutely disgusting. Disciplined Duelist. Speaking of absolutely disgusting, there's a Disciplined Duelist. 2/1 double strike plus a shield counter. Both of our creatures are big enough to pop the shield counter off of it, but not kill it. Because they'll take 2 damage, then post-combat they'll pop the shield counter off. So they'll pop the shield counter off and die. If I put a dagger on our Forge Boss, that'll pop the shield counter off and not die, unless they block with a 1/1 as well. So we get to pop the shield counter off and kill a 1/1. Not massively worth it, if I'm being honest. Do I just Mayhem Patrol here to draw a card? Maestro's Diabolist is not great here either if I want to sack the Hold for Ransom. I kind of want to just pop Mayhem Patrol to draw a card, because they don't have a good block for it, because it's Menace. I get to draw a card and deal some damage to them with Forge Boss, which might be my best way to kill them, might just be to... just get some extra damage in with Forge Boss hitting them for 2. So this would be a 5 damage swing if they don't let me kill 2 of their creatures. Or pop off the shield counter. They could let me pop off the shield counter here and I just kill 1 creature. Alright, they're going to take the 5, and we're going to draw a card here. So this feels good to me because it helps us dig into a murder, which would be a useful card, because as soon as we pop the shield counter off the Duelist, we can kill it. But more importantly, we can just kill this gigantic Rhino Warrior. That's probably the plan for murder if we hit it. So I'm going to make Forge Boss big enough to block the Duelist without dying. And then I'm going to draw a card. Deal 2 more to our opponent. Girder Goons, that's what I'm talking about. More blitz we get, the happier I'll be, because that'll give us more of a shot of killing them without even having to hit them with combat damage. Super happy to see Girder Goons here. It's going to give us more creatures on the board and hit them for damage and draw us a card. Ceremonial Groundbreaker is terrifying. +2/+1 trample onto a Disciplined Duelist here, which is for some reason a citizen. Why is everything a citizen, Wizards? It's not very citizenly of you to be just beating people up. Dueling. Alright, well, at least they don't attack with the Disciplined Duelist. So we just play Girder Goons and pass. Because if we attack with Girder Goons, then it dies in combat. We don't actually sacrifice it, so Forge Boss doesn't do any extra damage. If we play Girder Goons and equip it and then attack, we pop a shield counter. Is it better to pop a shield counter or just do 2 damage to them? Not actually sure. Pop a shield counter or deal 2 damage. Alright, 7 life. Down to 5. They could have life link or life gain though in white. I'm gonna threaten to pop a shield counter here, hoping that we just kill a 1/1 and then still sack it in the end step. Okay, so we do kill a 1/1 and sack it in the end step, so that went pretty well for us. Draw for turn now. Put them down to 5. Big score. Well, that'd be a reason to hold cards in hand. Forgot we had a big score in the deck, if I'm being honest. Maybe I should have held the land. I played the land so that I could cast Murder if I draw into it, but we do need to wait till they're tapped out because of this Wizard token. So, because even if I drew Murder, I wouldn't be able to cast it without it getting countered, I probably should have just held on to the land for big score. But I wasn't thinking about big score. I was thinking about murder, as I always do. Alright, a bunch of blockers here. I have to be pretty all in on the sacrifice theme. If they hit us with Disciplined Duelist, they do not have good blocks, so I'll take it. Hit me for 8. If they have the +2/+2, creature gets lifelink if it has a counter on it, I'm so dead. But I'm dead even if they didn't attack with it. If they just block with it, they gain 12, if that's the plan. Okay, so we have Tenacious Underdog. Got big score, but I'd have to sacrifice the underdog, which doesn't seem good. I could sacrifice the Hold for Ransom on the Diabolist to attack with everybody here, but then they kill me on the Crackback. If I attack with everybody, they block here, here, and here and take 2 damage. So that's not the play. They do not have good blocks here. So we just attack with some 3-power creatures. I think we attack with our 3-power creatures, but we want to leave some blockers, so hold back the 2/2 and a Tenacious Underdog so we don't just die to 1 removal spell. We die to 2 removal spells. Actually, the trample... No, the trample means we're probably just dead. Fairy Vandal is another blocker. Alright, well... Didn't draw an out for Disciplined Duelist here, so it probably kills us. I forgot about the trample from the Groundbreaker. Even if I remembered that, I don't think we have a way to play around it. We could survive it by losing like our entire board, but can't kill the Duelist because of that shield counter. Alright. Could have gotten really aggressive here, discarding Tenacious Underdog to the big score, then casting it from grave and just attacking with everybody, but they have enough blockers to survive. They would go to 3, but then I'd be completely tapped out and definitely dead. I probably should have still done that, but let's see what we hit off big score. Fatal Grudge. Make them sacrifice an artifact by sacking a treasure token. They no longer have lethal because they don't have trample anymore. And we draw another card. Yeah. 100% down with that. Another land. We'll play that. And play the Custodian, and we can afford to equip somebody. Try to find lethal next turn. If we have the life to blitz the underdog, I guess. Hopefully no removal from them. Removal doesn't kill us, but it makes us low enough we can't cast Underdog. Puts us to 2 life, and it costs 2 life to cast Underdog from grave. If we can cast Underdog, I think they're dead. Fatal Grudge was a huge draw. What a draw off of that big score. Tap out for Freelance Muscle. We just need to do 3 damage to them and sacrifice a creature this turn to win? Blitz the underdog, attack with everybody, hope they don't block underdog. If they do block underdog, we don't sacrifice a creature that turn, and then we die on the Crackback. That's the problem. Oh. What do we do? They can't afford to attack us anymore. So I think we're just all set to like save the Diabolist and attack with that. If I play underdog, we both take 2 and I draw a card. But I only deal 2 to them if it gets sacrificed. So we don't actually have lethal here because we only deal 2 if we sacrifice. If it dies in combat, we're not dealing 2. Okay, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 mana. Maybe I just save the Diabolist and attack with that. They block with Duelist. All I do is pop off a shield counter, but I get a Devil token in the process. Does a Devil token make a lethal attack here? Attacking with 6 creatures, at least 2 of them gets through. It does not. Because the 2 that get through could be my 1 damage creatures. Actually... Okay, I pop this. They have 4 blockers. I put that there. block, 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 take 1, 2, 3. They go to 2, but I don't sacrifice a creature, so they're not actually at 3. So I think I just attack with Diabolist still. But this way it survives Disciplined Duelist block. And it has Death Touch, so whatever else they block with, I'll just kill it. You know, I don't know why I thought it was going to be lethal. I'm not doing the Forge Boss damage if I'm not blitzing an underdog. If I'm not losing an underdog in my end step in particular, then I'm not dealing 2 damage with Forge Boss. Okay. Do I pop the shield counter or do I put them to 4? I think I pop the shield counter. I'll definitely play another creature. Now we've got lethal next turn for sure. Prize Fight, get rid of Forge Boss. Maybe not lethal anymore. Attack with everybody, block, 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 take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But they have another blocker now, so yeah, now it's definitely not lethal. So we just get another Diabolist attack in. If we underdog, is it lethal? 4 blockers. Block, 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 block. Take 1, 2. Yeah, take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yes, it is. If we blitz underdog, it's lethal on board. And they've tapped out, so we are free to do that. Because we don't have to worry about tricks in hand. So lethal on board. And Glamorous Outlaw works too, but this is also lethal. No lifelink on their board. They block 4 things. 1, 2, 3, 4. Take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Close game there, and a long game for game 1. That'll be 1-0. Alright, here we are in round 2. This hand looks straight out of a Rakdos Sacrifice draft deck, and I am all for it. No 2-drop creature here, but some really good plays starting on 3. Professional Facebreaker is going to be absurd if our opponent does not have the cheap removal to deal with it. And they're starting with an Obscura Storefront. Grab a blue source. If they're an Obscura, there's going to be no 2-mana removal to completely deal with Professional Facebreaker. Although I guess they'll have 3 mana by the time we play it. Counting my chickens before they hatch here. I'm just so excited about Professional Facebreaker. Really good with Exhibition Magician as well. Even if we can't hit our opponent, we can just poop out a treasure token with the Magician, use that token to draw a card off the Facebreaker. Opponent does have the Broker's sleeves on, so that may be what's going on here. There are free sleeves for each family, and that they do look like this. You have to use the family's saying to unlock the sleeve. Don't remember all of the sleeve codes, but if you search up Magic Arena promo codes, they should show up. Look them up here while our opponent's thinking. So if you're looking for the family sleeves for the 5 different families, the codes are going to be read the fine print, fun isn't free, always finish the job, crime is an art form, and information is power. And all of those will be with no space. And unfortunately, it looks like our opponent might be disconnected here. They are back now. Might be playing on mobile. Sometimes those kind of issues do happen. Expendable Lackey is the play here. So Professional Facebreaker gets to pop off. Gets to do its thing. We only have 1 card in the whole deck that actually costs us more than 4 mana, but we do have a lot of 4 drops. So it would be pretty risky to sack the treasure right now. So I might just play a Magician or a Custodian here. I'll go for a Custodian. Keep this treasure for later, because it's potential card draw. Blue, white, and green from our opponents. They are the brokers. With the read the fine print sleeves. There's a Citizen's Crowbar from our opponent that spits out a 2/2. They can use that to blow up an artifact or enchantment as well. Kind of like Fatal Grudge to trade our treasure token for their crowbar. It's a sorcery though, so we can't do any fancy tricks with it. But we can make sure their blockers are not big enough to double block and kill the Professional Facebreaker. Can still double block and kill the Custodian, but that's definitely a lot less bad for us. So we're just going to go for that right now. Get rid of the crowbar and draw a card. And it is a land for turn, which is wonderful. And we'll attack with both. Secure our treasure token. We are going to trade the Custodian off here. With this treasure token, I'm going to go ahead and, rather than get a card off Facebreaker, go ahead and cast Appraiser to exile their lackey from grave, so they cannot get a fish, and I'll just draw another card off of Corpse Appraiser, rather than drawing another card off of Professional Facebreaker. I think we'll draw probably a big score. I've got plenty of creatures in hand. Let's get some card draw. If they kill our Facebreaker and we run out of plays, we can cast a big score later this game. Because the other cards are all pretty redundant. 5th land or a 2nd Revel Ruiner. So now we have 4 mana, so now we have enough mana to cast anything in our deck outside of the 6 mana fixer. So 24 of these 25 cards are castable, so if we get to attack in with Facebreaker here, we'll sack a treasure and just cast whatever's on top rather than what's in our hand. But they do cast Ligrella to go ahead and get rid of the Professional Facebreaker, make sure I am not drawing any cards here, and unfortunately I don't have any removal for that right now. So, just attack in with a 3/3 into their 2/3. Keep jamming out creatures from hand here. Biggest creature is going to be Forge Boss. Don't have the mana to play 2 creatures unless I play Magician and Scarab, which seems pretty bad. Probably just go Forge Boss here. I think I do play this land even though I have Big Score. I'm not going to want to cast Big Score for a little while longer, so I can wait till I have like a 6th or 7th land in hand for that. So unfortunate to end up against another Brokers deck here. The format has been around long enough that we have a lot of professional opinions and 17 lands data in now, and it does look like Brokers is by far the strongest. Pretty rough color balance in the format because they have such powerful just uncommons like Disciplined Duelist and Ligrella are 2 of the strongest uncommons in the whole format here. So this is a super rough start for us. Very big comeback. But Broker's going to do what it can do. Probably go ahead and pop the Girder Goons again. Draw a card here, get in for 6 if they don't block. It's also pretty okay to attack with Corpse Appraiser. We kill Ligrella or we pop a shield counter. We do have our 1 removal spell that can kill something with a shield counter on it. We've not drawn it yet, but we have run up against 2 Disciplined Duelists. We actually have 2 removal spells that kill Duelists. We have Deal Gone Bad as well we could draw into. Because of that, I'm actually not going to get so aggressive about popping the shield counter off of the Duelist. 2 removal spells in our deck that'll kill the Duelist even if it has a counter on it. Just send in the Girder Goons here. Hit them for 6 most likely. No, they're going to go ahead and pop a shield counter just to stop the 4 damage here. Very okay with that. Actually, that'll stop all 6 damage because Girder Goons will die in combat instead of in the end phase. So I'm less okay with that, but we are still popping off the shield counter, getting our 2/2, drawing a card. This is not that bad for us. Definitely still best to blitz out the goons rather than play it. Draw for turn is another land. Do I want to hold that for big score? Kind of do now. Another Obscura storefront, some phenomenal mana fixing out of their sealed pool. Double storefront here. Botanical Plaza as well. I feel like our first two sealed pools have been pretty weak in terms of mana fixing lands. Didn't really get to show off what I got to do at the pre-release. But I think the pre-release kits, the one seeded pack that they give you like guaranteed some mana fixing in it was the thing. But at the pre-release, I played 4 or 5 color almost every time. I just got so much mana fixing lands. It was a rude awakening coming to regular sealed. I've just gotten very few each time, it feels like, in comparison. Oh. I'll trade a Corpse Appraiser for a combat trick here. I'm 100% down for that. Soak up the mana to do that instead of something else. Okay. So yeah, I'm trading Corpse Appraiser for Boon of Safety. Unfortunately, only cost a 1 mana for that trick. Most of the tricks in this format are really cheap, though. Civil Servant is the play. Phenomenal common. Since if Lagrella's a citizen, I was going to lose my mind. No, but the Disciplined Duelist is a citizen, so it's going to be impossible to race them if we let that Civil Servant in. Big score, we get a couple treasure tokens, draw a couple cards. I think I can afford to do that here. Well, question is that better than just going Revel Ruiner Underdog? It might not be. Let's Revel Ruiner here. See what we hit. Menace is pretty good on this board. Crooked Custodian is not great on this board, but neither is Halo Scarab. Crooked Custodian is better than that, so get rid of the Halo Scarab. I don't want to immediately blitz the Underdog. I'd like to just hard cast it first. If I was cool with just immediately blitzing the Underdog, then I could have just discarded the Underdog there instead of the Halo Scarab. Riveteer's Decoy is the play. They don't get to just blitz it because I just block with a 3/4. So that's nice, because that's where that card gets really powerful. If my board's all 2 and 3 toughness, they get to make it trade off and draw a card in the process. It's always really good. So nice that they didn't get to do that. Now all I have left is a Crooked Custodian and a Magician, so I'm going to use the big score here. There's calling a Professional. Already got rid of the shield counter though, but it's still good here. Probably shoot the Duelist, attack with the Revel Ruiner here. We kill a Civil Servant or Lagrella, because they have to double block Civil Servant plus Decoy or Civil Servant plus Lagrella. Yeah, we probably just hit them for 4 if we do that. I'm going to call in a Professional on the... Do I call a Professional in on the Lagrella to get back our Facebreaker, actually? I can't attack with Revel Ruiner anymore, but then I can start casting more cards off the top of my library. Killing Duelist opens me up to being able to attack just immediately, but killing Lagrella, I get to start trying to win the War of Attrition with a lot of card draw. Might be better to get a lot of card draw here. Try to do it that way. Grab another red source. No attacks right now. If the plan was to kill Lagrella, I should have probably done it in their end step, but they had some mana tapped there. They hadn't drawn a card yet, so that does play around a combat trick that gives +X/+X. Doesn't play around another Boon of Safety, because it would have beaten a Boon of Safety anyway. But they had like the +4/+4 combat trick or something, I guess. But I think they had enough mana to cast that, because that's so cheap. It's ridiculously cheap. It's just 1 mana for +4/+4. Luckily for us, they only have a 1/4 to follow up with, so we get to keep our Facebreaker for now, and we start popping off, just casting our whole library. Slowly but surely. Alright, Riveteer's Initiate it is. Do still need to get that Duelist out of the way or make our board really wide. Those are our two options. I think we crack the tramway station here. Just looking for our removal. Just looking for murder. Deal gone bad. We've got a lot of removal still in here. It's only really going to take one to get our opponent's board state to crumble under our current pressure. Echo Inspector is the play. Quick Draw Dagger is really nice here, because we can beat a Disciplined Duelist with it, or at least trade with a Duelist with it. If we just want to attack all, we're at 20 life, they attack back if everything on their board survives for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So I think this is where we just jam it in. Jam everybody in. Even the Facebreaker. I feel like Quick Draw Dagger is going to make it pretty impossible for that to not work out for us. And if they are going to kill it, we can like exile Halo Scarab in response and at least get 1 card draw out of it. Only costs 3 mana for the dagger, so I guess I might as well just do the Scarab thing right now and see if that changes things. Deal gone bad. Well, yeah, that really ruins their blocks. I don't have the mana to play that and the Quick Draw Dagger, but I can just get rid of their double strike / first striker here, mill them a bit, and just jam in. Now we're just holding on to Quick Draw Dagger for later because we have to play Deal Gone Bad this turn. Cool. So now everybody's pretty expendable. Except for the Facebreaker. So I think we send like this. Anything they block here, we get to kill a creature of theirs, or our creatures will just bounce off. Like if they block our 3 power creature with their 1/4, they'll just bounce off each other, but any other blocks here are going to be trades, which is fine. Got that mana threatening Death Touch on the Initiate. Okay, take some trades here. Nope, change their mind. Going to keep the Echo Inspector, maybe. Or just take the damage. They're going to force us to give the Death Touch here to trade into the Civil Servant. Well, I'll definitely do that. Alright, they'll get a treasure token. Trades will happen. I'll get my own treasure that I will definitely not sacrifice since I'm tapped out. They are down to 8 now, and we still have a great board state. Do want to make sure we don't mill out, but we still have 11 cards to work with, and we're a pretty aggressive deck. So I'm pretty free to keep sacrificing treasures and digging farther into our deck. Civil Servant. Pretty great sealed pool from our opponent. Multiple Civil Servants is nice. I'd love to see some body droppers for our deck. Metropolis Angel as well. So if they attack with any creatures with counters on them, they will draw a card. They don't have any creatures with counters on them right now, but it's still a decent blocker. Quick Draw Dagger will have something to say about that, though. Alright, what do we got, Facebreaker? What do we got this turn? Mayhem Patrol. Sure. Come on in, buddy. Again, they don't have lethal in the crackback, so just have a party here. Just jam. Now that I'm holding up Quick Draw Dagger mana, they're going to need to block very, very smartly to both survive and kill Professional Facebreaker against a Quick Draw Dagger. So I'm just going to send everything in, because I think it's really unlikely they find a way to block that they both survive this turn and kill Facebreaker through a dagger. So I think that we can afford attacking with everybody here. Our Facebreaker should not really be in danger. Doing 8 damage to our opponent right now. Now we're only doing 5 damage to our opponent, so we'll just save our Facebreaker. Kill a bunch of other creatures here. Put them down to 5. Or put them down 5 life, putting them down to 3. And then Forge Boss could do an extra 2 damage if I go for Underdog here, but it's unnecessary. I'll just go for Custodian, save Underdog for the future. Oh wait, no, Forge Boss would kill them if I blitzed Underdog, because I already had a Mayhem Patrol that was about to die. Oops. Oh no, whenever you sack 1 or more, and it triggers only once each turn, so we would not have killed them if we blitzed Underdog. We would not. Opponent's going to gain some life with Civil Servant here. No, they do not have a citizen. Get an attack in before a Wrath effect, maybe? We win through a Wrath with Underdog in the grave. Could just be sending a message. Nope, there is a Wrath effect, alright. So Tenacious Underdog for lethal, it is. Or even Glamorous Outlaw in hand, either one. I guess just in case they have instant speed life gain, Outlaw's the safer play because it doesn't cost us any life and sets up the top of our library by scrying those lands to the bottom. But it looks like they did not have anything, so Outlaw will take it for us. 2-0. Some long games. Well, here we are now in round 3. Bit of a risky keep in terms of the lack of creatures in hand. We've got a bunch of great removal. We have good colors and mana here. So if we start drawing creatures, we're pretty set. Another green-white deck here. Please don't play an island. Although I am playing an island here, so we're going to be a little hypocritical. Just don't want to play against brokers thrice in a row. Social Climber is the first play. In their color pariah, I'm worried about creatures with shield counters, so I'm not going to just burn that off with Call in a Professional since I can save that to kill something better. Plus, Girder Goons is really good against that because it's going to leave behind a 2/2. So I essentially get to spend this 4 mana to deal 4 to them, draw a card, and make a creature that's big enough to block and kill their 3/2. That feels pretty nice. But yeah, I like leaving Call in a Professional in case they go blue source into Disciplined Duelist. Inspiring Overseer is the play, though. Phenomenal card. Best common in the format. 2/1 flyer for 3 that gains life and draws a card. It is insanely pushed. Let's... Offer the trade with our 2/2? No, we probably hold this 2/2 back to hold back their 3/2. Probably just shoot the flyer down with Deal Gone Bad. Though it's really not that big. But we don't really have any other ways to deal with flyers. We don't really have our own flyers. So we either kill it now or just play a Revel Ruiner and be okay with taking some damage for a bit. I guess we have life-gaining lands. Sure, we'll drop Revel Ruiner and see what we're drawing here. Torch Breath. That's not bad. Just discard a land here. We have plenty of them. And I'll grab Black Source with Obscura Storefront. The Obscura version of the supervillain from The Boys. Metropolis Angel is the play. No counters on anything, though, for our opponent again. But now we've got a bigger target to kill in the sky, so I like that. Let's start jamming in with Menace if we just Torch Breath the Angel. I'm pretty cool with that. We've got the mana to play Forge Boss and Torch Breath the Angel and hit for 3 here. It's pretty nice all around. No. X needs to be 2. But it costs 2 less, so I get to pay X equals 2 for 1 red mana. There we go. And then I get to attack with both of these. They probably don't want to trade their 3/2 into my 2/2. And then post-combat I'll cast the Forge Boss, so I have a creature big enough to block the Social Climber. And they can't crack back. Grab another black or red source here, it doesn't really matter too much, so I'll just grab another black source. We do have a double black card in the deck, Murder. So this way we could cast a double black card like Murder and another black card like Fatal Grudge in the same turn if need be. So I guess it matters a tiny bit. So Mage's Attendant from our opponent, the 3/2 that comes with the 1/1, a pretty phenomenal common. Draw another Revel Ruiner. Not bad, but it's not great on this board. Now that they have a Mage's Attendant down. I guess the Revel Ruiners still trade 1 for 1 here, so we can just send a Revel Ruiner and a 2/2 in, see what we want to do. Probably cast another Revel Ruiner post-combat. Trying to race here, not doing a particularly great job. Alright, Revel Ruiner. What are you going to hit this time? Professional Facebreaker. Ooh. Well, Fatal Grudge is looking pretty bad in this matchup. Got a lot of cheap expendable creatures here, so we'll discard that. Echo Inspector from our opponent and another flyer. It's going to be a problem, especially if it gets a +1/+1 counter here. Because then it's out of reach of our removal. They only do 3 damage. Yep, that's brutal. It's too big for our measly removals. Opponent's getting low though, they're at 12 right now. Mage's Attendant's such an annoying card. I always have to keep one up because of this wizard. That's 3 mana for 2 creatures and 4 power, 3 toughness. Mage's Attendant's being rude. Time for our professional Facebreaker to be rude, I think. They could make disappear, sacrificing their 1/1 to make us spend 4 more mana on this. That wouldn't be good for us, but it wouldn't counter it at least. Alright, we're sending in the Revel Ruiners. Unless they block with all of their creatures, we get something through here. We can guarantee we get something through if we send in the 2/2, but the 2/2 just dies to a 3/4 and doesn't kill anything. These kill something no matter what, because they're forced into double blocks, so I think it's just these two. Hold up our removal, and we probably have to cast Call on a Professional and not Deal Gone Bad because we need to be able to pay for the stupid wizard. Oh, unless they do this trait here, then I can maybe do Deal Gone Bad. Ooh. 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 Okay, so this is, that's all going to trade, and that's fine. Done. This, we're going to trade with the 2 toughness creature, do 1 damage to Echo Inspector, then we'll do 3 more damage with Call on a Professional, or give it -3/-3, because the wizard will be dead. So either way, we'll kill it. So all that resolves. Cool with me, cool with you. It all resolves. Now we finish off that Echo Inspector. Deal Gone Bad here. Well, that's bad. Prize fight? Yeah, prize fight. Alright, not the end of the world. We still kill the Echo Inspectors. They're down to 1 flyer here. Milled a Jewel Thief and some lands. The mill is really incidental on Deal Gone Bad. You're never like, oh, I got them by milling them. But sometimes you have to mill yourself if you're worried about them having like expendable lackeys and stuff. Oh, this is an easy block. They do get to draw a card out of this decoy, though, which is definitely nice. But always feels nice to have a 4 toughness creature against the Riveteer's decoy, so they have to double up, have to 2-for-1 themselves. Does end up still just being a 1-for-1. But yeah, that wasn't bad at all. Yeah, this game is going to get 100% decided on who can draw better off the top, which is where I hate to be. So unfortunately, my opponent is drawing an extra card here because of the towers. So opponent's up a card already, and we're in a top deck war, so this feels pretty bad. They do have to crack the towers. That is nice, at least. Land for turn. Alright, well there we go. There's a land we can crack. Good for 2 here. I have not cast my draw spell this game, so it's somewhere in the deck. Or draw 2, that'd be a pretty great draw. Caldia's Strongarm's a fantastic draw for our opponent, though. A 4/5 creature. Have the board superiority by a lot. Corpse Appraiser is a phenomenal draw. That is a 2-for-1, and it's pretty much guaranteed to hit some kind of gas here. I don't even know what their best creature is here. Overseer's good, Decoy's good, Echo Inspector's good, Jewel Thief is good. A lot of good things in grave. I guess Metropolis Angel would be the scariest if they bring it back. They're not going to, but still. So we can take Murder or Tenacious Underdog. I think I'm on Murder, because Underdog goes into the grave, and we can still blitz it. Corpse Appraiser was wonderful there. Getting an important mill for us, too. That's really nice. I'm going to hold on to this land because I do still have the discard a card, draw 2 spell in the deck that I keep forgetting about. Psychic Pickpocket. That will kill my 2/2 token, draw them a card and discard a card. Pretty great deal for our opponent. Okay. We threaten lethal here if we blitz the underdog, so we force a block on Pickpocket. Pickpocket probably blocks Appraiser. They take 3, go to 3. We go down to 9. We draw a card in the end step. Oh, look at the little car. I love the cute little car when it drives by looking like a slot car. Hold for ransom. That's annoying. Let's just draw a second Corpse Appraiser then. Double Corpse Appraiser is ridiculous. That was such a nice pickup in our sealed pool. This card is just wonderful. Wow, all three of these are fantastic. I think I prefer Glamorous Outlaw over anything else. Which unfortunately we don't have the blue mana to cast right now, because we just cast a Corpse Appraiser. But it still feels really good. So let's just go for the underdog right now. Definitely casting the Outlaw, though, next turn. We just milled our big score, so I might as well have played that land. Suboptimal plays. Oh, Lord. Another Psychic Pickpocket. Well, that makes me feel a little less bad about double Corpse Appraiser. Double Psychic Pickpocket's also pretty good. However, the only things they can bounce right now are Corpse Appraisers, so I just get to go wild if they bounce something. So yeah, they're just not even going to bounce. Which is fair enough. Broker's Ascendancy, too little too late. Wow, I am glad we won this match. If our opponent had drawn these cards in a different order, we would have been mega dead. If they just Broker's Ascendancy'd us. Turn 3, there would just be no comeback. Luckily for us, though, we forced them into all of their creatures dying here, and Broker's Ascendancy does not get to pop off. Then we put them to 1 life. Actually, we don't have enough mana to cast Outlaw. So we'll just play some more creatures here. But then with Outlaw, we definitely find lethal. Exotic Pets from our opponent is not going to be enough because we can blitz the underdog, cast Glamorous Outlaw here for the final point of damage. Tenacious Underdog, kind of the MVP this game. Being absolutely huge in the end, turning things firmly into our favor. Honestly, more the Corpse Appraisers that let us dig to that underdog and draw their cards in the process being absolutely ridiculous. The double Corpse Appraiser, the underdog there being wonderful for us. Multiple 2-for-1s. And the underdog being like a 3 or 4-for-1. We drew a bunch of cards off of it. Really sick stuff late game that game. That'll now be 3-0 as we head into round 4. Opponents on the play here. We have blue, black. We don't have red. We have turn 2 Custodian. If we get a 3rd mana, we have a Dagger. If we get a red source, we have Appraiser and Magician. It's a risky one, but we're on the draw. See if we can't get that red source. Now we have turn 2 Custodian into turn 3 Dagger. Guaranteed here. Blue-black from our opponent as well. They're going to exile a Shattered Seraph, turn that island into a tricolored land. Could Maestro's Theater here, but I'm not going to miss out on my 2-mana 3-2 to do that. Especially since our strongest 3-drop needs to wait till there's a creature in the grave anyway. I'll just send in here before I play my land, probably playing Maestro's Theater for the red source here, rather than playing Quick Draw Dagger. If our opponent still doesn't commit anything to the board, I'm pretty open to just slamming down a Girder Goons or a Revel Ruiner next turn. I think I'm going to be doing Revel Ruiner here. Girder Goons is going to hit them for 4 and get a creature in our grave for Corpse Appraiser, but if I go for Revel Ruiner, I get to hold all my mana up here and just see what they do before I do anything else. They're going to go for a Deal Gone Bad and mill themselves, which we can't do anything about. Okay, so now we get to Revel Ruiner or Corpse Appraiser here. None of their cards in graveyard matter too much, though. So I don't think Corpse Appraiser is necessary. Probably going for Revel Ruiner, discarding Exhibition Magician most likely. Just not that powerful this late in the game. But if we have 6 lands in hand, Probably get rid of one of these over anything else. Get rid of a third black source. Not going to need to hit 6 mana here. Okay. 5 mana up. We can play Corpse Appraiser and Riveteer's Initiate. That's pretty exciting to me. Just still holding on to Girder Goons for now, I guess. Send in the Revel Runer, hit for 3. Opponent definitely playing a really slow, controlling kind of Obscura deck. Do I play around the counter unless I pay 2? Or do I play around... Can't think of any other counter, so I think I just play Corpse Appraiser first. I don't remember what the other counters in the format are. But if I play Corpse Appraiser first, they can't do the counter unless I pay 2 thing. Pick up a Murder here. We got plenty of creatures, so let's just make sure we have removal. We know they're playing 4/4 flyers eventually. Evelyn the Covetous is the play. Exile the top card of each player's library with a collection counter on. Once each turn, they can play a card from exile. Well, that's really good. They hit our Maestro's Diabolist? Come on. That's rude as ever. Once each turn, they can cast it. And they have a tramway station. How do they still have 3 more cards? Whenever Evelyn or another vampire? Good lord. Well, we shoot Evelyn. We shoot Evelyn dead just right now, right? So you can't cast all that nonsense anymore? And just send in with Menace? Okay, okay. Yeah, that was an insanely good hit for them off of Evelyn. Our rare vampire. So that they get to exile 2 more cards. Whew. Whew, boy. Corpse Appraiser of their own here. Pretty good. Exiles our Revel Ruiner. We're ready to quick draw Dagger to beat our own Maestro's Diabolist here. So we're pretty cool to send in with the squad. I think playing a land here, probably. I guess I only need 5 mana, 2 to use Initiate, 3 to use Dagger. We'll be goonsing later for lethal, hopefully. Diabolist on Appraiser, Corpse Appraiser on Initiate. Go for the Dagger play. Looks like Dagger resolves. Death Touch on Initiate. Death Touch resolves as well. That is our opponent's board in the grave. We've still got a 3/3, a 3/1 Menace, and a quick draw Dagger to put wherever we want it. Hold on to this land. I do have big score in hand here. Opponent is going to cycle a Jetmir's Garden. Looking for 5 colors, maybe. White, blue, red, and black. They did just discard a green land, though, so probably not. Oh! Widespread Thieving. Whenever they cast a multicolored spell, create a treasure. If they pay white, blue, black, red, green, they can cast the exiled card without paying its mana cost, which they can definitely do. They can do white, blue, black, red, green, but we can also definitely lethal them because of Girder Goons. We go Blitz in the Girder Goons. Blitz in the Mayhem Patrol, and this is well over lethal. There's the concession. From our opponent, we are 4-0 now. This is a pretty nasty 5-color bomby deck there. Very cool stuff from our opponent, but we're over here just playing the Rakdos draft deck in Sealed. Okay, well, this seems pretty good. This one really looks like a draft hand. Crooked Custodian on 2, Mayhem Patrol later. Murder and call in Professional as backup to keep the board clear and just keep jamming in with these cheap, high-power creatures. Very excited for this. We do need another black source to get to our Murder, but we can wait on the Murder. We can just call in a Professional on their cheaper creatures. Maestro's Theater is their first play. Pulling out a mountain there. And they are red-black as well. Turn 2 Body Chopper. The mirror match it is. Send in our Custodian, see if they're down for a trade. They are indeed. That makes me a little bit sad, but not that much. We'll just slam down our Mayhem Patrol. Red, black, and white from our opponent. Exhibition Magician now probably getting a Citizen token to trade into Patrol. But maybe they need a treasure token. Maybe they are more of like a 5-color deck here. Seeing red, black, and white. Do I want to just goons here, or do I want to call in Professional to beat a Magician? I don't really want to do that just to beat a Magician, so let's just get a goons. And they already trade both of them into the Patrol if they block, so let's attack both. They want to double block Patrol, that's cool. 1-for-1 trade our 2-drop for their 3-drop. Hit them for 4, get a 2-2 and draw a card. Glamorous Outlaw is exactly what the Doctor ordered. A nice big late game play here. Mr. Orfeo, unfortunately going to get incredibly murdered here. Just the most murderous murder you've ever seen. Opponent down to 15. We have 3 cards. They have 4. But we've got a 2-2 on the board, so if one of their cards is equivalent to a 2-2, then things are all balanced here. They're looking at their grave, though, so they might have returned a bunch of cards with different colors. Yeah. Rogue's Gallery's disgusting here. The 3-for-1. That'll do things for sure. Luckily, they don't have the mana to play any of them just yet. So we just get to keep jamming in for 2 a turn for now. Glamorous Outlaw is also bigger than any of those, so it can attack into them well. And it'll set up our draws here, letting us put any lands on the bottom. And with multiple removal spells in hand, I'm putting the dagger on bottom too. We are looking for more creatures, more threats to close out this game with our opponent 11 here. Make that 12. Opponent has a lot of gain life lands. Double Maestro's Theater. They are 4 color at least, red, black, white, and green. Mr. Orfeo's coming right on back. And a Sticky Fingers. Well, now we're already wanted to Torch Breath that, but I'll double Torch Breath it now to get in for 6 this turn. 1, 2, 3, 4 damage. Get in for 6. And they're down to 6. One more hit with everybody will be lethal. Unless they have a 3rd life-gaining fetch land. Put them up to 7, and murder on Glamorous Outlaw it is. They do not have the black source for the Body Dropper, but they do have the mana for Exhibition Magician. Get a 2-1 and a 1-1 out. Drop a Forge Boss here. It's big enough to attack into that. Keep calling a Professional to kill the Body Dropper here. Yeah, Jetmir seems pretty good. Their whole field gets +1/+0 in Vigilance. +2/+0 Vigilance Trample if they have 6 or more creatures. And they'll get Double Strike if they have 9 or more creatures. Can't really do anything. Just hope to draw more Blitz, I guess. So we just focus on drawing cards right now. Which means we need to hold 4 mana up to use Tramway Station. Could pop a Call-in Professional on blocks if we need to. Where do people get this mana fixing in their sealed pools? Jesus Christ. I wish. They're halfway through their deck and they've played more fetch lands than I have in my sealed pool. I have 3. They've played 4 halfway through the game. All right. Big attacks here. Big brash attacks. Calling a professional can ruin whatever their plans here are if they don't have a combat trick alongside them. Alright, the plan is to have the citizen trade up into the 2/2. It's okay, I'm still killing an Exhibition Magician, so I'm not going to do any responses until they make it so Exhibition Magician kills Forge Boss. Deal gone bad? That I will respond to. I'm actually happy they're milling me. They could hit my Blitz card here. It's going to be a 0/1, so I can kill Magician so this doesn't die, but then my 2/2 still dies. Better to have my 2/2 die than my Forge Boss die, especially because we're trying to hit our Blitz card. And we take 1 less damage because they have 1 less creature now. They did not hit my Blitz card, but they hit 3 non-lands, including my draw 2. And we've drawn a land now because of it. Not the ideal mills, for sure. Draw a card. Another land for us. Pass turn. If you want to sack Jetmir to kill Forge Boss, you got it. Daring Escape. Another correct draw from our opponent. Down to 12. There's the underdog. Probably still drawing here. More land, but here's underdog. On the board, ready to trade, then ready to come back from grave. Too late now, though, because we're taking a bunch of damage, and they've got more removal. This is why I absolutely despise top deck wars. This is just how it feels. That... okay. Exact lethal. Seems pretty good. That will be 4-2 now. 4-1, that was our first loss. Here we are, round 6 now. 4-1. With a excellent mana hand. First time we get to play around with Diabolist. I guess it'll be the second time. First time we tried to do Diabolist, it died immediately, I think. Got held for ransom. Ooh, we even have a Crooked Custodian for turn 2. So let's get our blue source onto the board tapped, play a Swamp into Custodian turn 2, Mountain into Diabolist turn 3. White-green from our opponent, Attended Socialite is their turn 2 play. Here's our Crooked Custodian. Coming in tapped, get the pun. It's crooked on the board. Halo Scarab from our opponent. Attended Socialite gets the buff, attacks in for 3. Here we go, time for Diabolist. Jam. Let our Custodian trade off here for the Scarab. And that was a lot more thinking on the block than I thought there would be. I thought for sure they would just snap block there. They did still take the block eventually. 6 lands in hand here, so we're definitely looking to draw some more gas if we can. Security Rocks is our opponent's play. With Quick Draw Dagger, the Diabolist can attack into anything, so... Ooh, Corpse Appraiser. If we don't have to Quick Draw Dagger here, we probably have to just Quick Draw Dagger here, but still. If we don't, we exile their Halo Scarab. Oh, they're playing around the Quick Draw Dagger, so Corpse Appraiser it is. Exile that Halo Scarab from their grave and draw a card. Feels good. Draw Girder Goons, or call in a professional. I really like Girder Goons here. Tapped land for the turn. I guess the Diabolist, it's a 1-for-1 trade into the rocks, so they probably also just didn't want their 5/4 to die in a trade, since it's only doing 1 damage to them every turn. Doesn't actually threaten that much damage to an opponent. Can always hold up our Quick Draw Dagger on blocks if we get low enough on life that we don't want to keep jamming in. Another Security Rocks, oh dear. Oh dear. Well, Take 8 down to 7. Looks like it's about time to quick draw dagger on blocks, but we only have 5 mana, so we can either quick draw dagger or just straight up murder here. I guess I just attack in, and if they make any block, then we get to quick draw dagger, and if they don't, we get to just murder. Cool, get some damage in. Riveteer's Initiate, threatening a death touch blocker, maybe holds off an attack or 2 from them. Probably doesn't because we're pretty low on life. But it could scare them here. Kaldia's Strongarm going for Blitz lethal. Murder can counteract that. They probably don't want to put all their eggs in one basket because we have the Riveteer's Initiate for death touch. Yeah, so they're going to make Socialite nice and big here. It's going to be 4. Wow. Yeah, that's not good for us. So Socialite is a 4/3 naturally, but Security Roxes are 5/4s naturally. I think we have to go block here, murder Security Rocks. Shoot them for 1 with the Devil. We're down to 5. They're down to 2 creatures though, but they do draw a card here. We can't really keep attacking now. Especially if they have a flyer. I guess we need to get a Devil token. Our Devil token can deal with that. We have the mana to Blitz in Girdergoons and Mayhem Patrol. If we do that, we're attacking for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. That's not 12. So we can't do that. We have to attack with Diabolus now, I think. Because we need a Devil token to block with to kill the flyer in the future. But I guess if I attack with Diabolist, I die on the ground. We probably hardcast Girdergoons, weirdly enough. Die to 1 removal spell if I attack. Maybe I don't attack, I just let them get a Skycrier hit out. For at least 1 turn here for our opponent. Yeah. Unfortunately, feels like where we're at. Cabaretti's Ascendancy potentially draws them an extra card each turn if there's a creature on top of their library. Probably have about 17 creatures in deck. Almost half the deck is going to be draw a card. So every other turn they'll draw an additional card. So now that I have enough mana to dagger and put another creature on board, I think I do attack with Diabolist. Still die to just 1 top decked removal spell. If I attack with Diabolist. But if I don't, I'm just not jamming in. Maybe I don't blitz the Mayhem Patrol, that way I don't die to a removal spell. And maybe I just attack with Girdergoons, actually. So I actually am doing enough damage to get towards finding a lethal counterstrike with a bunch of creatures. We definitely play the land here, so I can crack the land if I don't have to cast the dagger. Yeah, we're just trying to get wide enough to do a big counterattack against the Skycrier. Be more than happy to have us both draw cards here. Alright, Tramway Station is our card. Plasma Jockey's the draw off Cabaretti's Ascendancy. That seems pretty good. Seems like lethal on board. That's disgusting. Yeah, that'll do it to us. What a pickup. 4 and 2 it is. Good work from Cabaretti Ascendancy. Oh. These last 2 games have not been it, Chief. On the play here in round 7 with a turn 2 Tenacious Underdog. We're only 1 black source away from having Murder as well. Do need 2 more lands to make it to Girder Goons, but we've got Murder and Torch Breath pretty soon. And a turn 2 Tenacious Underdog on the play seems pretty scary to me, so gonna keep it here, just need to draw some lands at some point. We do immediately draw the black source for Murder, so that is beautiful. Excellent way to start the game here. Green and white from our opponent. Passes the turn. We'll play another swamp here rather than the blue source, so we have Murder up since we don't have any blue cards in hand. High Rise Sawjack, 2/3 reach. We're super cool trading into that, not even going to Murder here. It's our 4th mana. Probably even just blitz in Girder Goons and really put the pressure on our opponent. Get a lot of damage into them, get a 2/2 down. They are going to trade into the underdog. Take 4, down to 13. We'll draw a card and get our 2/2. Maestro's Theater is the draw. 4 mana up from our opponent. Couple 2-drops maybe? Yep, Backup Agent, a 2 mana 2/2. And that's it, just 1 2-drop here it looks like. But 1 2/2, more than good enough to trade into our 2/2. Can blitz our underdog, or we could spend a removal spell on a 2/2. I think I'd rather just blitz the underdog here. Draw more cards, put more pressure on our opponent. Deal 3 damage here. Keep drawing cards off underdog. Revelation of Power, make the backup agent lifelink to survive this block. Well, that played pretty poorly. A really nice combat trick to have there, the lifelink one. Already have a blue source. Probably just should have gotten the 3rd black source there. Well, we've got every removal spell in our deck in hand to kill their 2/2. Well, that 2/2 better watch out, it's super dead. I would rather play Diabolist than Underdog here. Unfortunately, I don't have my Murder up, but I do have all of my damage-based removal, which is more than enough to kill most creatures. That should cost them 4 or less. Obscure a Storefront here. We could call in a Professional in response to prevent their life gain and kill Backup Agent, but again, I'd rather save my removal to kill other things. Just in case. Take that 2 Backup Agent damage here. Definitely looking to win the race. However, I guess I am going to end up just calling in a Professional because I have so many cards in hand. Got to make the most of my mana, make sure I'm doing things throughout this game. And that does make Corpse Appraiser a very active top deck. I guess it's already active. They've got a Sawjack in grave. These are not great draws. Crooked Custodian's the best one of them, though. And Halo Scarab can go into the grave for future use. Cool. Custodian down. Pass the turn. Unless they have a Depopulate, I think we're in a pretty good position against anything here. Even something as disastrous as Workshop Warchief. 5 mana, 5/3 trample, gains 3 life, spits out a 4/4 when it dies. A ton of powerful text on that card. So, we're going to need to use 2 removal spells to get that out of the way. Or throw a 3-power creature into it and a removal spell. We can deal Gone Bad Murder, I guess. Hit for 3, for 6, 7, 8. Or we could blitz an underdog, attack with everybody. And then we can't kill the Rhino if I blitz underdog and just trade here. because I'd have spent double black. I won't have Murder up. Torch Breath won't be enough. I'll only have 3 mana. So I guess I have to deal Gone Bad and then Murder here? All my graveyard synergies are already in my grave, so I'll just mill them. Get their 4/4. You got it, friend. Your crisp, clean 2 for 1. But I'm going to hit you for a lot. They are down to 6. Rafine's Informant is coming down. A 2/1 that connives when it hits the board, getting a +1/+1 counter if they discard a non-creature card after their draw here. They do discard a non-creature card, so that is a 3/2, and Mage's Attendant is the next play. They're very low on life and tapped out. Is there any way we find lethal here? No, but we get pretty eerily close. We're going to blitz our underdog. We're going to Torch Breath, probably. Attack everybody. They block 2 creatures. Block, block, take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They go to 1 life here. Definitely worth it. Shoot the Informant since it has a counter on it. There are some cards that care about how many cards you have with counters on them. So I have to block our 3 power creatures here and go to 1 life. They're just going to scoop them up. They are over it. We are 5-2. Very nice run for this sealed event. Round 8 now. Another great start here. We don't have a blue source for Corpse Appraiser, but we got that turn to Crooked Custodian, the classic. Quick draw dagger and call in a professional to back it up, even if we don't hit a 4th land or a blue source. Corrupt Court Official from our opponent. Obnoxious little card. I'll discard the dagger. We hit our 4th land here. Send in our 3/2 and pass the turn. No attacks. Send in again, drop a Forge Boss post-combat. Now we have a Tenacious Underdog to discard to Corrupt Court Official if they have another one. They fake its death here. No thank you. Pass the turn. That would have been a really good fake your own death. Kill our Custodian, get us to discard another card, and get a treasure token for them. If it wouldn't kill the Custodian, I would have just let it happen, because I'm okay with discarding Underdog here. But the fact that Custodian dies as well, that makes it pretty bad for us. Plasma Jockey. Could sack an Underdog to draw a card and kill their Jockey here. It's not bad at all. But I guess it also just trades as a 3/2. I should have just blitzed it in if that was... If I'm just trading a 3/2 for the Jockey, then just blitz it in. That was probably my dumbest play of the day. Just blitz in the Underdog there. Don't go for the Fatal Grudge. Literally anything else would have been better than that. Blitz in Underdog or Hardcast Forge Boss. Those were the 2 lines there I should have took. I realized way too late that just blitzing in Underdog for a trade on Jockey is the exact same as just playing Underdog and Fatal Grudging. So now I don't want a Fatal Grudge, because they're also just probably going to straight up trade on board. Interesting. Sticky Fingers. Well, maybe the play pans out, because I might be able to just keep hitting them for 3 without having to keep blitzing this to do it. Okay. Looks like it does not pan out. The 2/2 with a shield counter is a really big deal, and if I Fatal Grudge, they'll just sack the Plasma Jockey instead. Oh, I'll trade Underdog for a shield counter if they want to. This comes back from grave. Say goodbye to your shield counter, say hello to Forge Boss, and a Mountain. Light up our 3/2, send both in. I can't block. We take 7. Down to 10. And a hard-cast Girder Goons. How? Well, this game's really over. Played really poorly in these early turns. If I played better, we'd just probably be at a higher life total, more cards off their board. And have a chance to start getting towards the blue source. If I get to the blue source, I can start stabilizing, but played poorly. We needed to play a lot better than this to survive. Even then, it's no guarantee here. This is not a good spot. Can't block anything. I just take 11 if I don't Torch Breath. Yep, this was not going to be it. Played like poop and got punished. But, again, probably a loss either way there. Our creatures we've drawn are just a lot smaller and no blue source for Appraiser's rough. Maybe I should have just gone with my initial line. Just Fatal Grudge to kill the 3-1. If I'd done that, I think we would have been in a better position overall. But then they got to where they had multiple creatures on board. 1-for-1, us both sacking a creature is just not great. I don't know. I played that one like trash. My mind was just out of it at this point. It's been a really long sealed, been over 2 hours now. It will be edited down to a little less than that for you all, but a bit over the format right now. Streets of New Capenna, it's been a bit much. I do get tired of the new formats, no matter how good they are after a bit of time. And Streets of New Capenna has been alright, but I have tired of the format definitely quicker than usual. So, very happy we've got those call time quick drafts that I can mix it up with now after this bulk recording session. Anyways, here's a last look at the deck. I think the deck's pretty good. I did not play it to my best. If I played my absolute best, I think we might have been able to pull this deck to a 7-win run here, but a 5-3 is super respectable. I'll absolutely take it. Nice deck, probably one of the best things that our sealed pool could have done. I could definitely see some minor changes here, but definitely this is about the core of what we would want in our sealed pool. Definitely could see some minor changes like Halo Scarab, maybe swapping that out for some stuff. Maybe even Riveteer's Initiate didn't do too much for us. There's definitely some various changes you could do. Swap out 3 or 4 cards for some other cards. Even Revel Runers were just like, okay. But I don't think you need to... I think we got pretty close to the correct deck, at least for this sealed pool. Pretty good stuff. Very close to the best deck that the sealed pool can make, probably. And just fumbled a good bit in some gameplay. So that'll be a 5-win run. Not bad at all. We'll get 1,600 gems in 3 packs, but that is going to end this sealed event. As always, if you enjoy these videos and you'd like to see more, just leave a like, comment, and subscribe to let the YouTube algorithm know to send some more in your recommended feeds. And as always, thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon for some more Magic Arena.